The good girl told my mom she saw my dad kiss another woman. When we discovered she lied, her dad sent her to boarding school. Your father is a cheater, and I want him out of this house, my mom said the moment I walked in from school. No hello, no warning. Just that grenade dropped on me while I still had my backpack on. I stood there, trying to process her words. Have you ever felt such an intense, burning hatred that it eclipses everything else? That's what consumed me after one single, venomous lie tore my entire family apart. But the real kick in the gut? It wasn't about some grand betrayal. It was all sparked by a stupid homecoming dance. Can you even imagine? It started like a scene from a nightmare. My mom was pacing our kitchen, a coiled spring ready to snap. She told me Carly from youth group, pulled her aside after church. She saw my dad kissing another woman outside his office. My blood ran cold. Carly? The one who leads worship? Yes, that Carly. My mom, her voice shaking, said Carly's conscience wouldn't let her keep it a secret. I just shook my head. Mom, that makes no sense. Dad is obsessed with you. He brings you flowers every Friday. He still calls you his high school sweetheart. But Mom just gripped the counter, knuckles white, tears streaming down her face. She saw him, Taylor, with her own eyes. She's been sick over it for days, trying to decide if she should tell me. I was numb. Carly and we barely exchanged 10 words our whole lives. We weren't friends. Why would she do this? My dad walked in about 20 minutes later, grocery bags in hand, a smile on his face, utterly clueless about the ambush waiting for him. He didn't get 2 steps. I know about the affair, my mom said, her voice like ice. His smile vanished. The what? He stammered, confused. Don't play dumb. Carly saw you kissing another woman. She told me everything. I watched my dad's face morph, confusion, then shock, then something close to raw terror. He slowly set the groceries down. Stella, I have never cheated on you. I don't know why this girl is saying this, but it's not true. None of it. My mom scoffed. She has no reason to lie to me. And I have no reason to cheat on you, but here we are. He tried to step towards her, but she recoiled. Please, just let me prove it. Check my phone, my emails. Call my office. I was in meetings all day. I have the calendar invites. She shook her head. I'm not going to dig through your phone looking for evidence you've already cleaned up. His voice rose, now desperate. I haven't cleaned up anything because there's nothing to clean up. 22 years, Stella. We've been together 22 years. Doesn't that count for something? Doesn't that buy me at least the chance to defend myself? She pulled her wedding ring off, the one he'd given her, and set it on the counter. The tiny clink of metal against ceramic was the loudest sound I'd ever heard. It should have bought me a faithful husband. I want you out of this house by tonight. Mom, stop! I finally blurted out, my voice cracking. You can't do this. You can't just end everything because of what some girl said. She turned on me, tears still flowing. Stay out of this, Taylor. You don't understand. I understand you're blowing up our entire family without even letting Dad explain himself. I yelled. He had his chance, she snarled. He made his choice when he decided to put his hands on another woman. My dad was openly weeping now. I'd never seen him cry. Not once. Stella, please. I'm begging you. I didn't do this. I would never do this to you. To us. She wouldn't even look at him. Get out. He stood there, frozen, for a long moment, hoping she'd change her mind. She didn't. He picked up his keys, walked past me, and paused. He put his hand on my shoulder, squeezed, then walked out the door. That was the last normal night of my life. Within days, the entire church knew. My mom had called her sister, who called 2 friends, who called everyone else. Suddenly, our private tragedy was public gossip. Her phone rang off the hook. 30 people calling to offer support, telling her how sorry they were her husband was such a disappointment. 30 people who believed a teenage girl over a man they'd known for years. Not one person called my dad. Not a single soul. He'd helped build that fellowship hall with his own hands, coached the softball team, showed up every Sunday. None of it mattered. One accusation and he was a ghost. I heard the whispers at school, the pitying looks at the grocery store. I always thought he was too good to be true. The worst part was watching him try to fight something he couldn't see. He called my mom every day for weeks, left voicemails, sent emails with screenshots of his calendar, credit card statements, phone records. Everything clean. Everything proving exactly where he'd been. But it didn't matter. Of course his records are clean, my mom told me, her eyes hard. Cheaters know how to cover their tracks. Every time I tried to defend him, she'd look at me with pity, like I was too young, too naive to understand. The divorce was final 3 months later. 2 weeks after that, my dad moved to Seattle. He called me the night before he left. "I'm sorry I couldn't fix this, Taylor. I'm sorry I have to leave. This isn't me leaving you. This is me trying to survive." I cried for hours after that call. Cried until my chest hurt, until there was nothing left but emptiness. And Carly? She just kept living her perfect little life. Laughing with her friends, leading morning prayers, praised by teachers for being such a good role model. She destroyed everything I loved, and she didn't even seem to regret it. I hated her so much it felt like poison in my blood, but I couldn't figure out why. Why us? We had no history, no connection. It took me 5 months to piece it together. 5 months of replaying every interaction, searching for a moment I'd wronged her. Nothing. We were just 2 girls who went to the same school, the same church, with absolutely no reason to be in each other's lives. That's what confused me. You don't destroy someone's family for no reason. Not unless you have something to gain. But what did Carly gain from seeing my parents fall apart? From watching my dad drive away while I stood crying in the driveway? None of it made sense until I started thinking about what my life looked like before she burned it down. My parents were that couple at church. Not gossiped about, but admired. They met in high school, married young, and 22 years later, they were still proving everyone wrong. Dad brought Mom flowers every Friday, just because. They held hands during service, every Sunday. It embarrassed me when I was younger, but as I got older, I realized how rare it was. My house was loud and warm, full of laughter. We ate dinner together, took family vacations, even when money was tight. Mom always said we were blessed. We're so blessed, Taylor. Don't ever forget that. I didn't forget. I just didn't realize how much other people noticed it, too. Carly noticed. I didn't know it then, but she'd been watching us for years. Watching my parents hold hands, watching my dad bring flowers, watching us laugh in the church parking lot while her family stood stiff and silent. Her parents were strict, deacon-level strict. Curfews, dress codes, no dating until 18, no parties, no shorts above the knee, only Christian music. She was supposed to be the perfect daughter, and for a long time, everyone believed she was. But none of that explained why she came after me. Plenty of kids had strict parents. Plenty envied my family. They didn't lie to destroy us. The answer came during junior year. You see, during sophomore year, a boy named Felix transferred to our school. Tall, dark hair, a smile that made girls forget how to talk. He played basketball, got decent grades, effortless charm. Everyone wanted him. Carly wanted him from the moment she saw him. She'd show up at his basketball games, volunteer for the same committees, laugh too loud at his jokes. For 2 years, she chased him. For 2 years, he was polite but never interested. Then junior year happened. Felix walked up to my locker. We talked, but nothing serious. That day, he leaned against the locker next to mine and asked what I was doing after school. I said nothing. He said maybe we could change that. We started hanging out. Not officially dating, but close. He'd find me at lunch, text me about homework, show up with coffee because I once said I was tired. It felt like a dream. The boy every girl wanted was choosing me. I didn't think about Carly. I didn't think about her 2 years of trying. I was too busy floating to notice her eyes following us. Homecoming was when everything solidified. Carly asked Felix to go with her, publicly at lunch, with a huge poster and side jokes, everything. He said no. Right there, in front of everyone. He was kind, said he was flattered, but he already had someone in mind. Carly's face crumpled for half a second before she pulled it together, laughed it off, said she was just joking. Everyone pretended to believe her. 2 weeks later, Felix showed up at my locker with tulips, because I once mentioned I liked them. He asked me to homecoming. I said yes before he even finished the sentence. That's when I became Carly's enemy. I didn't know it then. I didn't realize that watching Felix choose me over her had broken something inside her. That every time she saw us together, every time she watched him reach for my hand the way my dad reached for my mom's, she was building a case against me. She couldn't hurt Felix. She liked him too much. But she could hurt me. She could take away the thing I had that she wanted most. She wanted my life. The same kind of love my parents had with Felix. The house full of laughter, the Friday flowers, the feeling that everything was going to be okay. So she watched my parents for months after homecoming, learned their patterns, figured out when my dad left work what route he took home. And then she walked up to my mom after church and told her she'd seen something that wasn't true. One lie. That's all it took. Because the boy she wanted chose me instead of her. Jealousy. That's what burned my life down. I spent months drowning in that knowledge. But anger, if you let it sit long enough, can turn into something useful. One night I stopped crying. I started thinking. Carly had fooled everyone into believing she was perfect. But no one is that perfect. If she had secrets, I was going to find every single one and ruin her with them. I started following Carly. Not every day, that would be obvious. Just enough to learn her patterns. Where she went, who she talked to, what she did when she thought nobody was watching. The first week, nothing useful. Library, coffee with choir girls, straight home, youth group. She was exactly as boring and perfect as everyone believed. I almost gave up. Almost. But something nagged at me. The way she'd smiled when she told my mom that lie. The complete lack of guilt when she watched my family fall apart. Nobody that cruel could be that clean. So I kept watching. The next Wednesday, I was parked down the street when Carly came out of her house around 6:30. Her mom was in the driveway. They talked. Carly was dressed nicely, not church nice, but close. Her mom hugged her, waved as she backed out. I followed. She drove toward the church at first, and I thought, here we go, wasting my time. But she didn't slow down. She kept driving, took a left onto Route 9, toward the edge of town where the buildings got older and the streetlights were scarce. She pulled into a motel parking lot. Not a nice one. The kind with a flickering sign. Rooms opening directly onto the parking lot. Curtains that hadn't been washed since the building was built. I parked at the gas station across the street and watched. A car was already there. Some guy I didn't recognize got out, walked to her window. They talked for 30 seconds. Then she got out, and he pulled her toward one of the rooms. She was laughing. The door closed. I sat there for an hour. When she finally came out, her hair was messy, her shirt wrinkled. She was smiling in a way I'd never seen her smile at school. She checked her phone, fixed her makeup, then drove away like nothing happened. I checked the time, 9:15. Bible study ended at 9 o'clock. She'd timed it perfectly. I went back the next Wednesday. Different boy's car. Same room. Same hour inside. Same messy hair when she came out. The third Wednesday, a guy I recognized from the public schools newspaper. He had a truck. Opened the passenger door for her like a gentleman before they disappeared. 3 Wednesdays. 3 different guys. Same motel. Same lies to her parents about where she was. I started paying attention to her weekends, too. Friday nights were harder because she did go to youth group, but she never stayed long. I'd watch her car leave the church parking lot around 8 o'clock and head somewhere that definitely wasn't home. I was in the bathroom at school one afternoon when I heard her voice in the hallway. On the phone. Tell your mom I'm staying at your place tonight. I'll text you when I need you to cover. My parents would actually kill me if they knew where I was going. A pause. Then she laughed. Bethany, you're the best. I owe you. Bethany, her best friend, the girl who backed up every story, made sure Carly's alibi was always airtight. They had a whole system. That Friday, I followed her to a party. Some guy named Duncan, whose parents were never home. The house was packed. I found a corner to watch. Carly showed up around 11 o'clock. She walked in like she owned the place. Within 10 minutes, she was dancing on the kitchen counter with a bottle in her hand. People were cheering. Someone was recording. She jumped down, kissed some random guy, and the crowd went wild. A girl with pink hair leaned over to me. First time seeing church girl let loose? I just watched. She's here every weekend, the girl continued. Different guy every time. Must be nice to have a double life. Around 1 a.m., Carly stumbled out to the back porch with a guy whose name I never learned. I was close enough to hear their slurred conversation through the screen door. My parents think I'm at Bethy's, she was saying. They have no idea. They never have any idea. The guy laughed. Angel on Sunday, devil every other day, something like that. She kissed him sloppily. They disappeared around the corner. I had enough. More than enough. But I wanted to see how deep this went. The next weekend, another party. Bigger. Louder. The kind of party where things happen in back rooms that nobody talked about on Monday morning. I found Carly in the upstairs bathroom with 2 other girls. The door was ajar. I watched through the gap as she leaned over the counter with a rolled-up bill in her hand. One line, then another. She tilted her head back and laughed. God, that's good. Give me another one. Her nose was red when she finally stood up, her eyes wild and glassy. I must have made a sound, because suddenly she was looking right at me through the crack. For a second, neither of us moved. Then she shoved the door open and grabbed my arm, hard enough to leave marks. What the hell are you doing here? Her voice was low, dangerous. Nothing like the sweet church girl everyone else saw. Just came to a party, I said, keeping my voice steady even though my heart hammered. Didn't know you'd be here. You're following me. It wasn't a question. Her grip tightened. I've seen you at Duncan's, in the parking lot, at school. You think I'm stupid? I think you're a lot of things, I said. Stupid isn't one of them. She pulled me into the hallway. The music was loud. Her face was inches from mine. I could see the white residue clinging to her nostril. What do you want? She hissed. Money? Is that what this is about? You want me to pay you to keep your mouth shut? I don't want your money. Then what? I smiled at her, the same kind of smile she'd given my mom. I bet your dad would love to see this. His perfect little angel with powder on her nose and 3 different guys on rotation at that motel. Something flickered in her eyes. Fear, maybe. But it was gone as fast as it appeared, replaced by something harder, meaner. He would never believe you, she said. Nobody would. You're just the sad girl whose daddy left. Everyone knows your family fell apart. You think anyone's going to take your word over mine. She leaned closer. I could smell the alcohol on her breath, mixed with something chemical and sharp. I'm untouchable, she whispered. I've been doing this for 2 years and nobody has ever figured it out. You want to know why? Because people see what they want to see, and everyone wants to see me as perfect. So that's what I am. Perfect little Carly who teaches Sunday school and leads worship and would never, ever do anything wrong. She let go of my arm. The sweet smile slid back onto her face like a mask. Go home, Taylor. Cry about your broken family. Nobody cares what you think you saw. She walked back into the bathroom, closing the door in my face. I stood there in that hallway, the bass thumping, her words echoing. He would never believe you. She was right. If I went to her parents, they'd think I was crazy, jealous, bitter. The girl from the broken home, trying to tear down someone better than her. Telling them wouldn't work. I needed to show them. I left the party and sat in my car for a long time. Sunday morning, I went to church for the first time since my parents split. I sat in the back row and watched Carly's family file into their usual spot. Carly wore a white blouse and a long skirt, her hair in a neat ponytail. She looked like she'd never touched a drink in her life, never done a line off a bathroom counter, never snuck out to a motel with boys whose names she probably didn't remember. The pastor called her up to lead the opening prayer. Her voice rang out clear and sweet as she thanked God, asked for guidance. Her parents were beaming. Her mom had tears in her eyes. I watched from the back and thought about the motel, the bottles, the powder, the boys, the way she'd looked at me and said nobody would ever believe the truth. They had no idea who their daughter really was. But I did, and I was going to make sure they found out. Not by telling them, but by forcing them to see it with their own eyes. They had to catch her in the act. I had one chance. I had to make it count. Wednesday night rolled around. I parked in their driveway. The air was cold, but my heart was burning. I practiced my worried, nervous face in the rearview mirror, like a girl who didn't want to cause trouble, but felt she had to say something, just like Carly had done to my mom. I walked up to their front door and rang the bell before I could talk myself out of it. Their house was exactly what you'd expect. White siding, American flag, Bible verse on the welcome mat. I saw the TV glow, heard footsteps. Carly's mom opened it. Her face cycled through confusion, then polite concern, then worry as she saw my carefully crafted nervousness. "Hi," I said, making my voice shake just a little. "I'm Taylor from youth group. Is Carly home?" Her mom's eyebrows pulled together. "Taylor, I don't think we've met. Is everything okay, sweetheart? You look upset." "I'm sorry to bother you," I said, wrapping my arms around myself like I was cold. I needed to talk to someone, and I didn't know where else to go. "Of course, honey, come in." She opened the door wider. "Carly's not here right now, but I'm sure she'll be back soon. She's at Bible study." I stepped into the hallway, looking around. Family photos. Cross above the doorway. All clean, perfect. "Actually," I said slowly, "that's kind of what I wanted to talk about." Her mom's face changed. The polite concern sharpened. "Protective? What do you mean?" Before I could answer, a man's voice called from the living room. "Florence, who's at the door?" Footsteps. Carly's dad appeared. Tall, broad, polo shirt tucked into khakis. His eyes went from his wife to me. Serious. "This is Taylor," her mom said. "From youth group. She says she needs to talk to someone." "About what?" He crossed his arms, sizing me up. This was it. I took a shaky breath, letting my eyes get a little wet. Not crying, just the brave beginnings of tears. "I'm really sorry," I said. "I don't want to get anyone in trouble. I just saw something last week that didn't feel right, and I've been worried ever since." "What did you see?" His voice was flat, careful. "I saw Carly getting into a car with some guy I didn't recognize. It was Wednesday night. She said she was going to Bible study, but she went a different direction. I followed her because I was worried and she went to this motel." I paused, looking at the floor, ashamed. "I'm sure there's an explanation. I just thought you should know." The silence was exactly what I'd hoped for. Her mom's face went pale, not because she believed me, but because her brain was actively rejecting it. "That's impossible," she said. "Carly's been going to Bible study every Wednesday for 2 years. Pastor Lewis would have told us if she wasn't showing up." "I know," I said. "That's why I wasn't sure if I should say anything. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it wasn't her car. But I've seen it 3 times now, and I just couldn't keep it to myself anymore." Her dad hadn't moved. Arms crossed, jaw tight. He was staring at me, trying to read my soul. 3 times, he repeated slowly. "You followed my daughter 3 times." I let my voice crack a little. I wasn't following her on purpose. The first time, I just happened to be driving that way. But then I saw her again the next week and I got scared. I kept thinking about what could be happening and I couldn't sleep. I know I should have said something sooner, but I didn't want to cause problems if I was wrong. Her mom shook her head. There has to be some mistake. Carly would never lie to us. She's a good girl. She teaches Sunday school. She leads worship. Florence. Her dad's voice cut through the denial. Where exactly is that motel? I gave him the name. Watched his face harden. Watched something shift behind his eyes as his brain started doing the math he didn't want to do. She's there right now, I said quietly. At least she was the last 3 Wednesdays. Same time, same place. I can show you if you want. This is ridiculous. Her mom's voice was getting higher, more desperate. Carly is at Bible study. She texts me every week when she gets there. She texted me an hour ago. Did she send a picture? I asked. Or just a text? The question hung in the air. Her mom's mouth opened, but nothing came out. Her dad was already walking toward the kitchen, keys jingling, a drawer opening and closing. He came back with his car keys, a look on his face that said he already knew what he was going to find. We're going, he said. Right now. Don, this is crazy. Her mom grabbed his arm. We can't just show up at some motel because a girl from youth group thinks she saw something. What if someone sees us? What will people think? I don't care what people think. He pulled his arm away. I care about knowing where my daughter actually is on Wednesday nights. Taylor, you're coming with us. You're going to show us exactly where you saw her. I nodded, my face worried and grateful. Thank you for believing me. I've been so scared to say anything. We don't believe you yet, he said, but we're going to find out one way or another. Her mom was still shaking her head as we walked to their car, muttering about how there had to be an explanation, how Carly would never do this, how I must have been confused or mistaken or even lying. I climbed into the back seat. My hands weren't shaking anymore. My voice wasn't pretending to crack. This wasn't acting. This was the moment I'd been waiting for since the day my dad packed his suitcase and drove away. Carly destroyed my family with one lie. In about 15 minutes, her parents were going to see exactly who their perfect daughter really was. And there was nothing she could do to stop it. Nobody spoke for the first 5 minutes of that drive. Don kept his eyes on the road, hands tight on the wheel. Florence sat beside him, arms crossed, lips pressed together, as if physically holding back everything she wanted to say. I sat in the back, watching the tension build between them, like pressure in a sealed container. The GPS on Don's phone said 18 minutes to destination. 18 minutes of sitting in a car with 2 people whose entire world was about to collapse. I should have felt guilty. I didn't. Florence broke first. This is a mistake, she said quietly. We're going to get there, and Carly's not going to be anywhere near that place. And then we're going to owe this girl an apology for dragging her into our family business. Don didn't respond, just changed lanes and accelerated. Maybe she's at a friend's house, Florence continued, her voice desperate, trying to convince herself more than anyone else. Maybe Bible study got canceled, and she went somewhere else. Maybe the location changed, and she forgot to tell us. Florence. Don's voice was low, a warning. I'm just saying there are 100 explanations that don't involve our daughter lying to us for 2 years. Carly knows better. We raised her better. She wouldn't throw away everything we've taught her for some boy at a motel. I watched Don's knuckles go white on the steering wheel, saw the muscle in his jaw jump. He knew. Some part of him already knew, and he was just driving toward confirmation of something his gut had been telling him for longer than he wanted to admit. Florence turned around in her seat to look at me. Her eyes were red, but she wasn't crying. Not yet. Are you jealous? Is that what this is about? No, ma'am. I met her gaze, didn't blink. I'm just worried, that's all. I keep thinking about what could happen to her at a place like that. What if something goes wrong? What if she gets hurt? I couldn't live with myself if I didn't say anything and something bad happened. Florence stared at me for a long moment, searching my face for a lie, a crack in my story, some reason to believe this was all a misunderstanding. She didn't find it. She turned back around, staring out the windshield. "She teaches Sunday school," she said quietly, almost to herself. "She leads worship every week. She's been talking about going to Bible college next year. This doesn't make any sense." "People aren't always who they seem," I said. The words came out before I could stop them. Florence flinched, like I'd punched her. Don glanced at me in the rearview mirror, and something flickered across his face. Not suspicion, more like recognition. Like he'd heard that truth before and didn't want to hear it again. The rest of the drive passed in silence. I gave directions when we got close. The gas station where I'd parked to watch. The flickering sign of the motel coming into view. "There," I said, pointing. "That's the place." Don pulled into the parking lot slowly. His headlights swept across rows of parked cars, closed doors, and the kind of quiet that only exists in places where people do things they don't want anyone to know about. "Her car," Florence breathed. "That's her car." She was pointing at the car parked near the end of the building. The same car I'd followed 3 weeks in a row. The same car that was supposed to be in the church parking lot right now, while Carly studied scripture. Don pulled into a spot 3 spaces away and turned off the engine. For a moment, nobody moved. We just sat there, staring at that car like it might disappear if we looked away. Like maybe this was all a dream. "Maybe she let someone borrow it," Florence whispered. "Maybe one of her friends needed a ride. That has to be it. She wouldn't be here. She wouldn't do this to us." Don opened his door and stepped out without a word. I followed him. A moment later, Florence did too, moving like someone walking toward their own execution. The motel was exactly as ugly up close as it was from across the street. Peeling paint, stained concrete, room numbers screwed into doors that looked like they'd been kicked in more than once. The kind of place that rented by the hour and didn't ask questions. Don walked straight toward room 106. I don't know how he knew which one. Maybe he saw movement through the curtain, or heard something. Or maybe fathers just know when their daughters are behind a door they shouldn't be behind. He raised his fist and pounded. Hard. The sound echoed across the empty parking lot like a gunshot. "Carly." His voice cracked on her name. "Carly, open this door right now." Nothing. No response. Just silence from behind that thin wooden barrier. He pounded again, harder this time. "I know you're in there. I can see your car. Open this door, or I swear to God I'll break it down myself." Florence was shaking beside me, her whole body trembling. Her lips moved, but no sound came out. I think she was praying. A door opened 3 rooms down. A man stuck his head out. "Hey, keep it down out there. Some of us are trying to sleep." Don ignored him. He was past the point of caring what anyone thought. He was a father standing outside a motel room door, and nothing else in the world mattered except what was on the other side. "Last chance, Carly." He raised his fist again. "You open this door, or I'm getting the manager to open it for me." Still nothing. Don turned and stormed toward the office. I watched him disappear. Raised voices inside. Florence hadn't moved. Still standing there, staring at room 106 as if she could see through the walls. I stood beside her and said nothing. There was nothing left to say. Don came back with the manager, a tired-looking man in a stained T-shirt, keys in hand, looking like he wanted to be anywhere else. "Sir, I really can't just open rooms for people," he was saying. "There are privacy laws. If your daughter's in there with someone, that's really not my business." "She's 17 years old," Don said through clenched teeth. "And if you don't open that door in the next 10 seconds, I'm calling the police and telling them you're running a place where adults bring minors." The manager's face changed. He fumbled with his keys, walked quickly toward room 106. He found the right key, slid it into the lock. The click of the deadbolt turning was the loudest sound I'd ever heard. The deadbolt clicked, and everything I'd been planning for weeks came down to whatever was on the other side of that door. Florence was shaking so hard I could hear her teeth chattering. Dawn's hand was already reaching for the handle. Carly would have never suspected that her perfect life was going to crumble today. The door was about to open, and there was nothing she could do to stop what came next. The lock clicked, the door swung open, and everything after that happened in slow motion. The first thing that hit me was the smell. Smoke and alcohol and something sour underneath it all, like sweat and desperation and bad decisions. The room was dark except for a lamp on the nightstand that cast ugly yellow shadows across the walls. And there on the bed was Carly. She was wearing a bra and underwear. Nothing else. Her hair was tangled, her makeup smeared, and she had a half-empty bottle of vodka in her hand that she dropped the second the door opened. The glass hit the carpet with a dull thud. Liquid started soaking into the floor, but nobody moved to pick it up. There was a boy next to her, some guy I'd never seen before, with messy brown hair and a panicked expression. He was shirtless, scrambling for his jeans crumpled on the floor by the TV stand. His hands were shaking so bad he couldn't get his legs through the holes. "Oh God," he kept saying. "Oh God! Oh God! Oh God!" I looked past them to the rest of the room. It was worse than I'd imagined. Empty vodka bottles lined up on the nightstand like soldiers. Ashtrays overflowing with cigarette butts. And on the dresser next to the TV were 3 neat lines of white powder with a rolled-up dollar bill sitting beside them. The room looked like a crime scene, like evidence of a life nobody knew existed. Florence made a sound. Not a scream. Not a word. Just this broken noise that came from somewhere deep in her chest, like her soul was trying to escape through her throat. Her hand flew up to cover her mouth, and her whole body crumpled against the door frame like someone had cut her strings. Don didn't move. He stood in the doorway like a statue carved from stone. His eyes moved slowly across the room. The bottles, the substances, the boy still struggling with his pants, his daughter, sitting on a motel bed in her underwear, looking like a stranger wearing Carly's face. Dad. Carly's voice came out small and broken. "Dad, I can explain." "Explain." The word came out of Don's mouth like a bullet. Hard, cold, final. "Explain what exactly? Explain the substances on that dresser? Explain the alcohol? Explain why you're half naked in a motel room with some boy while your mother thinks you're at Bible study?" "It's not what it looks like." "Then tell me what it is. Carly, tell me what I'm supposed to be seeing right now, because from where I'm standing, it looks like my daughter has been lying to me for God knows how long." The boy finally got his jeans on and tried to make a break for the door. Don's arm shot out, grabbed him by the shirt collar, slammed him against the wall hard enough to knock a picture frame loose. "Where do you think you're going?" "I swear this wasn't my idea." The boy's voice cracked with terror. "She invited me here. She's the one who got the room. I didn't force her into anything." "You think that makes it better?" Don shoved him harder against the wall. "Get out of my sight." Don released him with a shove that sent him stumbling toward the door. "And if I find out you've been anywhere near my daughter again, that's the last thing you'll do. Do you understand me?" The boy didn't need to be told twice. He grabbed his shirt off the floor and ran out into the parking lot without looking back. His footsteps faded into the night. Then it was just the 4 of us standing in that room, with the truth hanging in the air like smoke. Carly had pulled a sheet up over herself. Her hands were trembling. Tears streamed down her face, leaving tracks through her smeared mascara. She looked young, younger than I had ever seen her. "Daddy, please," she said. "Please just listen to me. I can explain everything." "Start talking. It's not as bad as it looks. Everyone does stuff like this. It's normal. I was just having fun with my friends, and it got out of hand tonight, but it's not like I do this all the time." "All the time." Don laughed, but there was no humor in it. Just this hollow, broken sound that made the hair on my arm stand up. "Taylor told us She's seen you here 3 different Wednesdays. 3 different boys. Is that true? Carly's head snapped toward me. For the first time since the door opened, she really looked at me. Really saw me standing there, watching her world fall apart. And I watched her face change. The confusion melted away, and something else took its place. Understanding. Then rage. You, she breathed. You did this. I told them what I saw. You set me up. This whole thing was a setup. You've been following me for weeks, waiting for the perfect moment to destroy my life. I just told them the truth, Carly. Everything they're seeing right now is real. I didn't put those substances on the dresser. I didn't take your clothes off. I didn't make you come here week after week while your parents thought you were at church. You vindictive little witch. Carly was on her feet now, the sheet wrapped around her like a toga. Her eyes were wild, her voice getting louder. This is because of Felix, isn't it? This is because he picked you over me at homecoming. You've been waiting 2 years to get back at me. Florence looked up from the floor. What does she mean back at her? What does Felix have to do with anything? I looked at Carly and watched her realize what she'd just said. Watched the color drain from her face as she understood she'd given me exactly what I needed. Tell them, I said quietly. Tell them why you really did what you did to my family. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. Tell them about my dad. Tell them what you told your parents last year. The lie you made up. Because you were angry that a boy you liked chose someone else. Dawn stepped forward. What is she talking about, Carly? Nothing. She's crazy. She's been stalking me for weeks, and now she's making up stories to justify it. I'm not making up anything. I pulled out my phone and opened the voice memo app. I'd recorded our conversation at Duncan's party 3 weeks ago, the one where she told me she was untouchable. I hit play. Carly's voice filled the room, tiny and distant but unmistakable. He would never believe you. Nobody would. You're just the sad girl whose daddy left. Everyone knows your family fell apart. You think anyone's going to take your word over mine. Florence's hand flew back to her mouth. Don stood frozen, listening to his daughter's voice saying things he never imagined she was capable of. I'm untouchable. I've been doing this for 2 years and nobody has figured it out. People see what they want to see. Everyone wants to see me as perfect, so that's what I am. I stopped the recording. The silence that followed was deafening. 2 years, Don said slowly. You've been lying to us for 2 years. Daddy, that recording is out of context. She's twisting everything. I was just talking. I didn't mean any of it. What did you do to her father, Carly? The question hung in the air like a guillotine. Carly's mouth opened and closed. She looked at her mom for help, but Florence just stared at her like she was looking at a stranger. She looked at me, and I saw something I'd been waiting to see for over a year. Fear. Real, genuine terror at being caught, at being exposed, at having nowhere left to hide. I saw him, Carly whispered. I saw him with another woman. I wasn't lying. I really saw him. You saw my dad? I asked. The man who coached Little League and went to every one of my volleyball games and brought my mom flowers every Friday for years? You saw him cheating on his wife? Yes. Where? Downtown in a parking lot? What was she wearing? What did she look like? What car was she driving? Carly's eyes darted around the room. I don't remember exactly. It was a long time ago. You don't remember because it never happened. You made the whole thing up because Felix asked me to homecoming instead of you. You destroyed my entire family because a boy you liked chose me. That's not true. My parents got divorced because of you, Carly. My dad moved to Seattle. My mom stopped getting out of bed. I lost both my parents because of your lie. And you did all of that because you were jealous of me. Florence let out a sob. Is that true? Did you lie about that man? Did you make the whole thing up? Carly didn't answer. She just stood there, the sheet clutched around her body, tears running down her face, nothing left to say. Answer your mother. Dawn's voice was barely above a whisper, but it carried more weight than any shout. Did you lie about Taylor's father? The silence stretched. Then Carly's shoulders slumped, her head dropped, and the last of her fight drained out of her body. I thought I saw something, she said quietly. I wasn't sure what it was, and I was so angry about Felix, about how he looked at her, how everyone always looked at her like she was special when I was the one who worked so hard to be perfect. So when her mom asked what was wrong, I just said it. I said I saw her dad with another woman, and then it was out there, and I couldn't take it back. You could have told the truth, I said. You could have said you made a mistake. You had months to fix it. I know, but you didn't. No, because you wanted my family to fall apart. You wanted me to suffer. I didn't think it would go that far. I thought they'd figure out it wasn't true. I thought your dad would prove he was innocent, and everyone would move on. That's not how accusations work, Carly. That's not how any of this works. You don't get to destroy someone's life and then act surprised when it actually gets destroyed. Don stepped between us. His face had gone from shock to something darker, something I'd never seen on a church deacon before. Pure, unfiltered rage. You ruined an innocent man's life, he said slowly. Each word came out like he was chewing on glass. You tore apart a family, a marriage, a child who will never recover from what you did. And for what? Because some boy didn't ask you to a dance. Daddy, please don't. Don't you dare call me that right now. His voice rose and cracked. You are not my daughter. My daughter was a good person. My daughter had morals and values and a conscience. My daughter would never destroy someone's family over jealousy. You are a stranger, a liar, a manipulator. You are everything I raised you not to be. That's not fair. Carly's voice went high, defensive. I made one mistake. One mistake. Don laughed. It sounded like something breaking. You made one mistake that turned into a divorce. A man losing his home, his family, his reputation. I was scared. I didn't know how to take it back. You weren't scared. You were a coward. You did nothing because you were too selfish to face consequences for your own actions. You're being so unfair right now. You don't know what it's like to want something so bad and watch someone else get it instead. You don't know how that feels. I know exactly how it feels to want something. Don's voice dropped to something cold and quiet. I wanted a daughter I could be proud of. I wanted a child who reflected the values I taught her. I wanted to believe that everything I sacrificed to raise you meant something. And now I'm standing in a motel room looking at substances and alcohol and lies, and I'm realizing I never knew you at all. That's not true. I'm still me. I'm still your daughter. My daughter wouldn't do this. He gestured at the room, at the bottles, the powder, the mess of everything she'd hidden. This person? I don't know who this is, but it's not the girl I raised. Stop saying that. Carly's voice cracked. Stop acting like I'm some monster. I made mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. You're supposed to forgive me. You're supposed to love me no matter what. Love you. Don stepped closer. Carly flinched back. You want me to love you right now? After everything I just found out? Yes. The word came out as a sob. Yes, I want you to love me. I'm your daughter. You have to love me. I don't have to do anything. His voice was ice. Love is earned, Carly. Trust is earned. And you have burned every single bit of both that you ever had with me. Florence finally spoke, her voice raw and broken. Don, please. She's still our child. We can fix this. We can get her help. Family counseling, therapy, something. There is no fixing this, Florence. There is no therapy that undoes what she did to that family. He turned back to Carly. You are going to boarding school. Starting now. Somewhere far away where you can't hurt anyone else. Where you can think about what you've done without anyone around to make excuses for you. No. Carly shook her head, frantically. No, you can't do that. You can't just send me away. I have friends here. I have a life here. You can't make me leave. Watch me. Mom. Carly turned to Florence, desperate. Mom, please tell him he can't do this. Tell him this is crazy. I made a mistake. One mistake. I don't deserve to have my whole life ruined over one mistake. Florence opened her mouth, but Dawn stopped her. This isn't fair. Carly was screaming now. Full volume. Hysterical screaming that probably woke up half the motel. This isn't fair. I said I was sorry. I said I made a mistake. What else do you want from me? I want you to understand what you did. I want you to feel even a fraction of the pain you caused. I want you to spend every day for the rest of your life knowing that you destroyed innocent people because you couldn't handle not getting what you wanted. He walked toward the door. Florence followed him like a ghost. Pack your things. Your mother will pick you up in the morning. Don't bother coming home. You can stay with your grandmother until we figure out the school arrangements. Daddy, please. Carly lunged forward, grabbed his arm. Please don't leave me here. Please don't do this. I'll do anything. I'll apologize to Taylor. I'll apologize to her whole family. I'll tell everyone at church what I did. Just please don't send me away. Don looked down at her hand on his arm. Then he looked at her face, and I watched something in him close off completely, like a door slamming shut. You should have thought about that before you ruined their lives. He pulled his arm free and walked out. Florence paused in the doorway. For a second, I thought she might say something to her daughter, offer some comfort or hope. Instead, she just looked at Carly with an expression I couldn't read. Disappointment, grief, maybe even disgust. Then she followed her husband into the parking lot and closed the door behind her. Carly collapsed onto the floor. She curled up on the dirty motel carpet and sobbed so hard her whole body shook. Ugly crying, the kind that makes your face red, your nose run, your chest hurt from trying to breathe. I stood there and watched her fall apart. Watched the girl who had destroyed my family finally experience a fraction of the pain she'd caused. And I felt satisfied. You're still here. Carly's voice came out muffled and broken from the floor. Why are you still here? Haven't you done enough? I wanted to see what it looked like. What? Your life falling apart. I wanted to see it happen. I wanted to watch. She lifted her head and looked at me with red, swollen eyes. You're sick. You're actually sick. Maybe, I said, but at least I'm not you right now. I walked to the door and opened it. Goodbye, Carly. Have fun in boarding school. I never saw her again. So here's my question for you. Was what I did right? Or did my quest for justice turn me into something just as ugly as the person I was trying to expose? Tell me what you think in the comments. I really want to know.